How are you and your family and everyone? How's your
I mean,
mom?
we're good. We're good. I've had this, in terms of COVID and being at home after traveling so much, it's been great to be back in DC and to be in my house. And I say I'm dating my husband, my house, my neighborhood, my yard, just to physically be here. But I'm here for all of this. I mean, the protests and everything. But interestingly enough, I was arrested about 20 years ago in this city. And all of this, and I tell that story, but I tell it from the perspective of like a reporter. You know how something happens to you and you just tell it, or it's humorous, and you realize you're telling it because there's so much coping mechanism behind you telling the story and self-preservation and all of that. But seeing those kids, those students from Spelman and Morehouse, get yanked from their cars and all of that, all of those feelings. And ever since then, I didn't even think about it until today. I was so sad and on the verge of tears. And I'm like, what is this? And it was because I was remembering when I was stopped and arrested and taken out of my car and held up behind the trunk of a car and the handcuffs on my hands, my wrists. And, and it's traumatic and scary. And all of those feelings came rushing back.
What happened 20 years ago? What were you doing? Where were you?
I was driving up Georgia Avenue, and I think it was 96. I can't remember the year. It was the city was shutting down because there was a big tornado that was supposed to come through. So there was an emergency city and shutdown. And I had just left Thompson Hospitality for a job, and I was driving really closely behind a big truck, so I couldn't see the light. So I was going through the light really slowly, though, downtown, and then all of a sudden I hear, whoo, and I'm like, oh, my God, what was I doing? And then he pulls me over, and he says, license and registration. I give him my license and registration. He looks at it, he goes back to the car, and then he comes back and saying, your license is expired. Get out of the car. And and this is at a time when I was working so much. And, that was one of those pieces of mail that I probably missed because, you're just so busy working 24/7. And I was like, what? And it was a cop from the Bureau of Engraving. And he had a ride along, a woman from Texas. Wow. And the next thing I knew, there were like 5 patrol cars, sirens and everything. I have my hands behind my back at the trunk, handcuffed. And I mean, when I talk about it, and even now, and it's funny because I talked about this on the show, Girlfriends Check In, but I realized, and I think the memory came back. Even now I get a little choked up because I'm remembering the fear. And I remember saying to the female cop, and I said, what if I was to freak out? I mean, like, I'm actually telling her what's in my head. Like, what if I was to freak out right now? Like, I just wanted to collapse, and like all of my muscles just felt weak, like they couldn't hold me up. Like, what is happening? And she turns to me and she says, that would not be good for you.
Wow.
And I went on to jail, and they were shutting down the city, which meant that and it was a Friday, if I went there and got booked, I was there until Monday. And they're like, what hand do you write with? And I said, I'm right-handed. So they handcuffed my left hand to the wall. And it was just scary. And I was just there, And I don't think anybody can appreciate what that feels like unless you've gone through it.